everybody, this is Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again to talk about my top 10 best movies of the decade, of the 2010s decade, from 2010 through 2019. And yeah, we're not going to have very many movies. Not as many as the bad movies, of course, because there were so many bad movies in the 2010s decade. And so I have a few honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is Foxcatcher. This was a movie that I felt was really good, although it had a lot of historical inaccuracies. As well, it had a lot of great things that were in the documentaries that should have been in the movie. Because, I mean, there were some really creepy and interesting things that they left out of the movie that would have made it even better. Like there's footage of him walking around his place with a machine gun. Apparently he threatened one of the wrestlers with it, like get the fuck out of here. Like he was really insane and creepy, and this movie was still really good. And I really like it for some reason. I love watching it. I've seen it at least once a year since it came out. So, and then also Green Book, which it has a lot of controversy because it's a movie that promotes racial equality and racial unity instead of divisiveness and violence, like BlacKkKlansman did. But I actually really like it. I thought it was an extremely positive movie. I don't think it's a fantastic movie, but it does deserve to be in the honorable mentions. And also a Hot Tub Time Machine. This movie was an extremely good comedy, and it was so original and good and funny. And I really like Hot Tub Time Machine, actually. I think it's pretty underrated. People don't even talk about it anymore. And, people say, comedy's dead. You can't have comedy nowadays because of the feminazis and the people on Twitter. Well, guess what? Hot Tub Time Machine came out in 2010. Hot Tub Time Machine was pretty damn good and funny, so... And then X-Men First Class was really good. Probably the best superhero movie. It had a lot of emotion, a lot of great character, a great origin story, great action. I love this movie. I saw it in theaters. It was such a treat to see in theaters. Really good movie. Really good superhero movie, actually. It feels like it fits in with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. That's how good it is. I wish all Marvel movies were like this in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. And The Master is another one that was really good. I mean, it's basically just an acting movie where you just sit there and watch these incredible performances for 2 hours long. I watched it 10 times last year. That's how much I loved it. And also Prisoners. Prisoners is a really good movie, but it's extremely dark and depressing. It's not a movie you want to watch over and over and over and over again. That is the weakness of the movie, and it does downgrade the movie quite a bit because, otherwise it's pretty damn good. It's a good movie. I really liked it. And then my last honorable mention was Brawl in Cell Block 99. This is another movie like Prisoners where you can't watch it over and over and over and over and over again. It's still a really good movie. Vince Vaughn proved that he's a really good actor, an underrated actor, an actor who deserves work in better movies than the ones that he's been in, like the Psycho remake. And it's a really good movie. There's a lot of great fighting, a lot of great violence. It's not a PC movie. It's a movie that, needs to be made. And more movies need to be made that are like this movie, where they have violence, they have everything that you can think of. It was just full of just amazing action, like a 70s action thriller. Like, it was really good. My number 10 is Split. Now, this movie was a huge surprise to me. I did not expect to like it as much as I did. But it was fantastic. It was such a simple movie. It was a movie that takes place all in one location, basically. And, James McAvoy, he gives an incredible performance. Anya Taylor-Joy, she's really good, and she's probably one of the most beautiful actresses that we have nowadays. I mean, she has that old-fashioned Hollywood actress look to her, and, we saw that in The Queen's Gambit, as well as this movie and all the other stuff she's been in. And she was a pretty good character. But overall, the movie was really good because it was such an original movie. Like, it was a villain movie. I mean, before we got Joker, we got this. We got Split, and it's all about the villain. And I thought that was such an amazing idea, to have a movie all about a comic book villain, and to disguise it as a horror movie, and then to have that twist. That was so cool. I loved it. I saw it twice in theaters. I haven't seen it again since then, just because I don't really want to watch it too much, because I feel like if you do watch it too much, it might lessen the impact of the movie a little bit. But yeah, it was really good. And it's too bad that M. Night Shyamalan fucked up the series and made that shitty Glass movie. Fuck that movie. Glass. Ugh. My number 9 is Bleed for This. This is a movie that actually was recommended to me, which is a rarity for movies when it's recommended and I like it. People recommend me stuff. They don't really take into consideration my taste. And so usually when people recommend movies to me, I usually end up hating them. And so this was different, though. It was basically like Rocky. You had this classic story where this guy, this boxer, he gets injured severely, and he might never walk again, and he has this device that holds his spine together, and holds it straight, and he still starts training again while he has this injury, and he has this thing on him, and it's such a fantastic movie. It has some great 80s music. It's a fun movie. It's a positive movie. It's an exciting story to watch. It's got a lot of violence and things to make it feel more realistic, instead of sugar-coated style boxing like some of the other movies. Creed 1 and 2, fuck those movies. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, this movie was a fantastic boxing movie. It's too bad that other boxing movies aren't as good as this one. My number 8 is The Florida Project. This was a movie that actually really took me by surprise. I primarily watched it because it was shot on an iPhone, which is what I'm going to have to do for my first film. And so I wanted to watch it for inspiration, and also to see like some of the shots that they got, to see like how they sort of adjusted the filmmaking process with using an iPhone. And yeah, it was a fantastic movie. It's so funny because it started off, and I thought I was gonna hate it, and I thought I was gonna say it has great shots, but it's a terrible movie, because it stars basically little kids, and at first they're extremely irritating. I hated them at first. I really just was not liking the movie because of them, but then the movie went on, and it just got better and better and better. And the ending was like, it got me really emotional, that ending. It was such a not really like poverty porn, but more so along the lines of just like a very stylish yet very real movie. and it was so good. It had such great stuff in it. It was a beautiful looking movie. You got Willem Dafoe giving a fantastic performance. You got these little kids giving great performances. It was such a treat to watch this. I highly recommend it. My number 7 is Inside Llewyn Davis. Now, this movie is quite controversial because it's basically the black sheep of the Coen brothers filmography. People say all the time it's boring, they don't like it, it's a Debbie Downer, it's their least favorite Coen brothers movie. And I watched it because I went back and watched Schmoes Know video, those pricks I used to watch, and they really liked the movie, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a shot since they recommended it back in the good old days. And and I watched it, and I really liked it. It's one of the few movies where I feel like the color filtering works, where they make the movie look like it's in a color filter instead of just having it be a colorful picture. They have it just be like a couple of colors instead of the full palette. And usually I really complain about that. It's a huge pet peeve of mine, but it really worked in this movie. And, the main guy, what's that guy's name? He was in those shitty Star Wars movies. The main guy, he he was really good. He gave a great performance. And, you got other great performances from, like, Adam Driver, Justin Timberlake, John Goodman. It was such an enjoyable movie. There was some really great music in this movie, which is a rarity for me. I usually hate movies about music. I usually hate this type of music, but I really like the music in this movie. And the story overall was pretty good. I mean, it was kind of depressing, I do admit that, but it was such an enjoyable depressing movie, if that makes sense. It really feels to me almost like The Big Lebowski, but with music instead of bowling and kidnapping and all that stuff. Like, it feels like the main character is sort of like a Big Lebowski type character. And, I really got emotional with this movie, too, because it's all about, at the end of the day, it's not really about a musician, it's about an artist. And so that got me really, I really identified with the movie. And so, yeah, I love the movie. Probably my favorite part is when he goes on the road trip. Because the way that was shot, like, just the emptiness of just the landscape, like, they had, like, the sound of, like, the cars moving by and, like, this dead silence. It was so, like, just kind of disturbing. Because it was like, in the middle of nowhere. And it sort of made you feel like you're really unsafe and uncertain. Like, where is this guy gonna go? Like, he has nothing going, and he needs help, and he needs to get a win already, and he's doing all these wrong things, and it's just it was so good. I couldn't believe it. My number 6 is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. This movie was pretty damn good. It had some great action in it. It had a lot of great filmmaking where it had images instead of telling. So, showing, not telling. The main guy, the ape guy, Caesar, whoever the guy who played him, his name is, he did a really good job with the motion capture, which is really cool. The fact that he was able to give that performance while using motion capture stuff. There was great action at the end. It was just a really entertaining movie. And I've seen it a couple of times. And I even have the box set. My number 5 is The Founder with Michael Keaton. This is another movie that took me by surprise. There's so many people that just, shit on this movie and said, it's just a comedy movie where they eat different hamburgers and they just eat different hamburgers and it's just kind of and it's kind of like, like I don't really care, and, like fuck those people. Seriously, those people can go fuck themselves. They really underrepresented this movie. It was fantastic film. Whoever thought that a movie about McDonald's would be like an A+ type of movie? I mean, this movie is just an incredible biopic type of film. It really shows you how to make a biopic, how to make a movie about real events. I was totally engaged all the way through, and Michael Keaton gave an an award-worthy performance as Ray Kroc, and he deserved an award for that performance. I mean, seriously. I saw that some dipshit forgot to submit this movie for nominations. Wow, what a missed opportunity that was, because he would have taken the award for Best Actor. And, even with the supporting actors, you got John Carroll Lynch, you got the other guy playing the McDonald's brothers. They did a fantastic job. This movie was so good. It was so entertaining. And it really did what other, I guess, real life movies don't do, which is tell a good story while using all the facts of the story and not making shit up just to make shit up. Probably the only part of this movie that I thought was really weak was Laura Dern. I didn't even recognize her. I didn't even know that was Laura Dern. But she did not do a good job. She was very boring. And she just was terrible. And I really despise that performance. I despise that character, because she is like the only flaw of the entire movie. And it is definitely one of the best movies of the decade and of like the last 20 years, if you could say that. My number 4 is Bone Tomahawk. This is another movie that took me by surprise. It's basically like a horror western, and wow, it was amazing. It's basically about this tribe of cannibals who kidnap people from this town, and so the sheriff and his shitty deputy, and then someone else, I can't remember, there was this one other guy. I only watched it once, and I watched it like months and months ago. But it's basically this group of like 3 people. Oh yeah, it was God damn it! What was he? He was so good too. Like, he was actually one of the best parts of the movie. And I can't remember who he was or what his name was or anything. But it was such an entertaining movie. It's probably one of the only westerns that I've seen, and it was so action packed. It was so exciting. It had some great horror elements. I mean, there were some genuinely scary, creepy, gross things in this movie that, like, it really shows you what we're missing from horror movies. Because I admit, I got a little nervous and scared at times. I mean, it's that good. And, you got Kurt Russell, one of my favorite actors, being incredible in this movie is like the sheriff. And you got that guy. Who is that guy? What? God damn it! I wish I could remember that guy. Not the deputy. And the deputy was cool too, because it's the first movie of his where I've actually liked him as an actor, and so I thought that was cool. And but then there was this other guy, and I can't remember, but he did a fantastic job. The wife did a fantastic job. I really like this movie. I would give it my stamp of approval. I highly recommend you check it out. And please don't take it against me that I forgot about that guy, because I promise I did think he was like one of the highlights of the movie, but I just can't remember details about him, unfortunately. My number 3 is Pawn Sacrifice. And now this movie is a perfect movie. I don't care what anyone says. It is perfect. It stars Tobey Maguire playing Bobby Fischer, and it's a perfect role for him. And it is one of the top 5 probably historical movies I've ever seen, or biopics, whatever you call it. true story movies. It manages to take a very intense type of mundane game. It's not like a video game. It's chess. It's and I know some people might cringe at that, but it manages to make chess exciting for a movie, if that makes sense. It manages to make chess cinematic as well as entertaining, because usually chess is very boring because you're just sitting there, you're making moves, you're probably going to lose, and it's not really that exciting. But this movie manages to make it really exciting, and Tobey Maguire gives a perfect performance because it's who he is as a person as well. He is this character, and so he really fit the character, and it's perfect. I mean, there's not a bad thing I can say about it. It really managed to tell the story of Bobby Fischer, and to tell it in a way where it doesn't feel fake. It doesn't feel, Hollywoody. Probably the only thing that I could criticize is the fact that they put a fucking color filter over it, but I won't criticize it because I'm nice and because I still think the movie is perfect. I have a story about this movie. In freshman year of high school, I had to make a choice. Was I going to go to homecoming dance, or was I going to go see Pawn Sacrifice? Since it was a limited movie, it wasn't going to be there for much longer. And what did I choose to do? I chose to see Pawn Sacrifice, and it was the best choice that I made in all those 4 years of shitty high school. Seeing Pawn Sacrifice instead of going to homecoming dance. I mean, it was raining out, it was pouring up a storm, and I went and saw Pawn Sacrifice, and then I got my favorite meal that I used to get from McAllister's Deli before they took all the great food off the menu and replaced it with shit. They had this sandwich called the Big Nasty. They had chocolate cake, they had cheesecake, perfect desserts, perfect sandwich, and so I paired that with this movie, and it just made it even more epic, because whenever I think about that movie, I think about that experience of saying fuck you to Homecoming, and saying yes please to Bobby Fischer, played by Tobey Maguire. and so I know that sounds silly, but it really was one of the highlight movie theater experiences I've ever had. And yeah. My number 2 is Bad Times at the El Royale. This is another underrated movie. Originally I wanted to see it in theaters, and then I saw some reviews by some dipshit critics, and they said it's a bad movie, it's terrible, blah 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 blah. The typical stuff that critics say when it's not a Marvel or DC movie. They say it's bad and all that stuff because they're biased, and because they're paid off. They're all full of themselves, they're all shills. And so finally we have a great movie in Bad Times at the El Royale. I mean, come on, it's an ensemble movie starring these talented actors: Jeff Bridges, the black woman singer, John Hamm, the other guys, whatever, I forgot, Dakota Johnson, her sister. It was just such an amazing story, and it really just is so exciting the whole way through, and it keeps on having different twists throughout the movie. It's a very colorful movie, which is another thing. It's a very entertaining movie. It's a movie that never gets old. I mean, I've watched it quite a few times, and Safi loves the movie too, and so it's great when me and Safi love it and agree that it's a fantastic movie. And it's another movie where I had a great experience watching it because it was on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve that I watched it, and I was pretty sick, and it just made everything all better because it was so good. I mean, it had an unconventional way of telling the story, which really helped it. Actually, it really helped it, and it had some great ideas in it, playing around with the whole Manson murders and having like Chris Hemsworth playing like a cult leader. That was awesome. I love the movie. It's a perfect film. It's another perfect film. And my number one is Nightcrawler. Wow, where do I begin? I mean, everyone loves this movie. It's about Jake Gyllenhaal as this sociopath who basically becomes a Nightcrawler, which is basically a guy who waits for crimes to happen at night, runs to the crime scene, shoots grisly images, and gives it to the shitty mainstream media news to show. And Jake Gyllenhaal gives an award-worthy performance. The fact that he didn't get an award for this movie pisses me off. I almost met him. Unfortunately, I didn't get to. That's another story. Me and him share a birthday. We're both December 19th. And, this is a perfect movie. And it's just probably one of the best movies ever made. It managed to take a subject that I couldn't care less about and make it really entertaining. I mean, this is the only time that I've ever watched the mainstream news, where you have, oh, look, someone got in a car crash. Oh, look, someone got murdered. Like, this movie is the only time where I watch that kind of stuff. And, I would say for good reason. And I've seen the movie, I would say 40 times. It's a perfect film, and it's one of the best movies ever, including, all those other decades of film. And so it's not just this decade. That's how good this movie is. It's the only movie out of all the movies from the 2010s decade that really transcends. And it's not PC, it's not SJW. It is a film that is unfiltered, which, a lot of the other films on this list are unfiltered as well, but this movie just manages to just be perfect in every way, and to not really have any sign of SJW bullshit, which is in practically everything nowadays, and it ruins everything. Well, this movie does not have that. And it was so good that it inspired my first ever screenplay, which is really good, people say. And so it was that good that it inspired another story. It's a perfect film. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. I mean, what do you want me to say? It's perfect. The only thing I would say is there should be a sequel, because it really felt like there was going to be a sequel at the end. It felt like the perfect lead up for a sequel, just like with Joker. But unfortunately nowadays, filmmakers and people in the industry, they have this sort of mindset where they shouldn't make sequels. They shouldn't make more of something, otherwise it won't be any good. We see that with TV shows where they won't do more than 5 seasons because, bullshit reasons. And so, there should be a sequel, definitely. And so that's it. Please like this video, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you liked it. Or thumbs it down, I don't care. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.